Hey, what's up guys? Welcome back. In this section, we are going to work with Vuforia ground planes and Vuforia mid-air component which are added inside Vuforia 7. So, in this section, we'll first create an augmented reality application using Vuforia ground plane. In the Vuforia ground plane application, I'll explain you the process of detecting a ground surface and placing a 3D model on top of the ground surface. Next, we will work with Vuforia mid-air components, and with Vuforia mid-air component, we can actually place flying components like a plane or a drone in mid-air. Along with this, I'll also explain you some advantages and disadvantages of Vuforia ground planes and mid-air components. So guys, there are a lot of new things that you will learn in this section, so let's get started. So after watching the section intro, I know you're excited to work with ground planes and mid-air components which are introduced in Vuforia 7. But before we start, there are a couple of points which I'd like to share. The first point is that Vuforia 7 is available only inside Unity version 2017.3.0. So for working with ground planes and mid-air components which are a part of Vuforia 7, you have to update your Unity software to Unity version 2017.3.0. The version 2017.3.0 was released on 19 December 2017, and this is the latest version of Unity by the time of this recording, that is 7th January 2018. The second point which I'd like to mention is that the ground plane currently supports only 10 to 12 iOS devices and it does not support any Android smartphone. To explain this more clearly, in Unity version 2017.3.0, Vuforia version 7.0.36 is present. And that's why the ground plane AR applications made with Vuforia version 7.0.36 will only work on devices which are listed over here. Now, as mentioned on Vuforia's website, in the next Unity patch, that is, I'm assuming Unity version 2017.3.1, Vuforia will be releasing Vuforia version 7.0.43, which will basically support a large number of Android smartphones and older iPhone devices. I will put this website link in the resource section so that you can check whether your device supports ground plane or not. The third and the last point which I like to share is that I have an iPhone 7 Plus which is supported in Vuforia version 7.0.36. So I'll show you the output on my iPhone 7 Plus, and for building the ground plane and mid-air component application, I'll use a Mac, as for building Unity apps for an iPhone, you need a Mac system. So guys, after explaining you these three important points, let's start with a ground plane application. Hey, what's up guys, welcome back. In this video, we'll create a new augmented reality project called the AR ground plane. And by the end of this video, we will check the ground plane's output with the help of an external webcam. Now, if you're testing the ground plane's output with a webcam, then you will need an external webcam which you can project on the floor, as the webcam which is attached to your laptop may not work properly for this application. So let's start with the AR ground plane application. So to start with, I'll create a new augmented reality project and I'll give this project a name of AR ground plane. Okay, I'll click on the create project button. After creating the AR ground plane project, first I'll save the scene. So to save this scene, I'll click on file. I'll then click on save scene as. And inside the assets folder, I'll create a new folder. So I'll click on new folder. I'll give this folder a name of data files. Inside data files folder, I'll create another folder. I'll name it scenes. And inside the scenes folder, I'll save this scene by the name of AR ground plane scene. I'll then hit save. So now, as you can see, inside the scenes folder, we have now saved this scene by the name of AR ground plane scene. After saving the scene, next I'll switch the platform. So I'll click on file. I'll then click on build settings. Now, as I've explained in the previous video, since I'm going to build this ground plane application on my iPhone, so that's why I'll select the iOS platform, and after this I'll click on switch platform. And as per the ground plane supported web page, if Vuforia version 7.0.43 is released, then you should check whether your iOS or Android smartphone device is supporting the ground plane feature or not. And accordingly, you can switch the platform to iOS or Android. So next, I'll click on player settings. I'll open XR settings and I'll activate the Vuforia Augmented Reality support checkbox. After this, I'll add the AR ground plane scene inside the build settings. Next, I'll delete the main camera, and in place of main camera, I'll add the AR camera component. So I'll click on the import button to import the AR camera component. So the AR camera is added inside the hierarchy. Next, with the AR camera selected, I'll open Vuforia configurations and I'll paste the license key over here. So I'll open my browser, and as you can see, I've already opened my Vuforia developer account, and inside this I've opened the all AR keys. So I'll copy the license key which I've created for the all AR keys and I'll paste that license key over here. After this, I'll click on Command S to save the scene. Next, I'll click on Game Objects. I'll then go in Vuforia. After this, I'll go inside the ground plane option, and inside ground plane, as you can see, we have these two game objects called ground plane stage and plane finder. So I'll select this ground plane stage game object. And inside this ground plane stage game object, we have to add the 3D models or the 3D game objects which we want to display on the floor. Now, if I zoom in on this ground plane stage game object, then as you can see, this is the visual marker of the ground plane stage game object, and the ground plane has a width and height of around 100 centimeters. So if I create a 3D cube, so as you can see, I have made the cube a child of the ground plane. I'll resize this a little bit. So now as you can see, this cube is occupying the entire ground plane area. So since this cube is occupying the entire ground plane area, in real world this cube will have a dimensions of 100 centimeters by 100 centimeters. That is, this cube will have a width of 1 meter and a height of 1 meter if we convert the centimeters to meters. The visual marker is only visible inside the scene panel and it is not visible inside the real world coordinates. So guys, you can take this visual marker as a reference and you can place 3D game objects on top of this marker so that the 3D game objects do not appear too big or too small in the real world. So I'll delete this cube game object, as instead of displaying the cube game object, will display some 3D model. Okay, and the 3D model which I'll display on top of this ground plane is the Barbarian model. So I'll download the Barbarian model from the asset store. Inside the asset store, I'll search for Barbarian. After this, I'll click on free only, and this is the asset which I'll be downloading, that is the Barbarian Warrior. And if you remember, we have used this Barbarian Warrior asset inside our AR1 project as well. Okay, so I'll scroll down and I'll click on the import button. After this, I'll again click on the import button. So guys, the Barbarian Warrior asset is imported inside our project. So I'll open the Barbarian Warrior asset. Next, I'll open the models folder, and now I'll make this barbarian warrior a child of the ground plane game object. So I'll select the barbarian model and I'll make it a child of the ground plane stage game object. And as you can see, the scale of this barbarian model is a little big when compared with this ground plane. So I'll select the barbarian model, I'll select the 3D scale tool, and I'll reduce the scale of this a little bit. And this barbarian is actually pointing in the opposite direction, so I'll change its Y rotation also to 180 so that the barbarian points in your direction when you place him on the floor. Next, I'll click on game objects, I'll go in Vuforia again, and this time I'll add the plane finder game object. Now inside this plane finder game object, we have to provide the reference of this ground plane, okay? So if you look at the inspector panel of the plane finder, then we have this component called as anchor stage, which is currently empty. So in this empty space, you have to drag this ground plane stage game object. Okay, so I'll drag the ground plane stage game object over here. And now let me explain you why I have dragged this ground plane stage game object inside the plane finder. The plane finder game object practically listens to the touch input of the user. That is, when we project the camera on the floor, a square reticle will be visible, and if you touch the screen of the smartphone, then the plane finder will listen to that input click, and in place of the square reticle, it will place this ground plane stage. And since the ground plane stage contains this barbarian model, so in simple terms, the barbarian model will be placed at the position of the square reticle. So guys, I finished customizing the AR ground plane application. So after explaining you the connection between the ground plane stage and the plane finder, next let's check the output inside the play mode. Now when I'll click on the play button, the external webcam which I have attached to the laptop will be activated. But using the external webcam, we cannot track the ground surface directly. Tracking the ground surface is only possible with the camera of our smartphones. So that's why Vuforia has provided a special marker for the ground plane feature, and you can use this marker if you're testing the ground plane output with a webcam. So I'll go inside the assets folder. Next I'll open the editor folder. After this I'll open Vuforia for print emulator, and inside the emulator, as you can see, we have this emulator ground plane PDF file. So I'll open it, and this is the marker which I was talking about. You have to take a color printout of this marker, and whenever the webcam detects this marker, the barbarian model will be placed on top of this marker. So take a printout of this marker, and after taking the color printout, just measure the width and the height. The width and the height of this marker should be around 20 centimeters, okay? I have already taken a color printout of this marker, and the width and the height of this marker is approximately around 19 centimeters. So I'll close this, and next I'll click on the play button and let's check the final output. So my C922 ProStream webcam is activated, and if I project the webcam on the ground, then you can see I'm not able to track anything. But if I bring the ground plane marker in front of the camera, then you can see that the barbarian model is projected on top of this ground plane marker. So guys, that's it from this video, and in the next video I will build this AR ground plane application and I will show you the output inside my iPhone device. Hey, what's up guys, welcome back. In this video, I'll build the AR ground plane application and I'll run it inside my iPhone 7 Plus. So for building this app, I'll click on File, I'll then click on Build Settings. Next, I'll click on the Player Settings option, and inside the Player Settings, I'll first change the company name. So in place of company name, I'll put my website name, that is Engineer's Dream. I'll leave the product name to AR ground plane itself. After this, inside the resolution and presentation, I'll leave the default orientation to auto rotation. Next, I'll go inside other settings, and inside other settings, I'll first change the bundle identifier. Okay, So in place of company, I'll again put my website name, that is Engineer's Dream. And in place of product name, I'll write down my application name, that is AR ground plane. After this, I'll leave the version to 1.0 and the build to 0 itself. Next, if I scroll down a little bit, then we have this option of camera usage description, which is currently empty. So over here, I'll write down, allow this app to access the camera. So I'll just correct the allow spelling. Now guys, in place of the camera usage description, you can write anything you want, okay? But basically, when you open the AR ground plane app for the first time, so during that time, you will get a small pop-up window inside which the AR ground plane application will basically ask for your permission so that it can access the camera of your smartphone, okay? And in that pop-up window, whatever text you write inside the camera usage description will be shown. So after the camera usage description, I'll scroll down and I'll change this target minimum iOS version from 7.0 to 9.0. And the reason why I've changed this iOS version to 9.0 is because Vuforia application do not work on iOS version below 9.0, okay? So please make sure that you keep this iOS version at 9.0 or above, okay, but not below it. So I'll scroll down and I've basically finished making all the necessary changes inside the inspector panel. So next I'll click on the build button, and inside the ground plane application, I'll save this file by the name of ARGP iOS. So the GP is a short form for ground plane, okay? So basically inside the ground plane project, we will now have a new folder called as ARGP iOS, and inside this ARGP iOS folder, we'll have the Xcode project file. So I'll click on the save button. So guys, the ARGP iOS folder is created. So I'll close this build settings, and this is the folder which is created inside the AR ground plane. So I'll open it. And next I'll open this Unity iPhone Xcode project. And by the time the Unity iPhone Xcode project is opening, I'll connect my iPhone to my Mac system. Next, I'll click on the Unity iPhone file, and over here, as you can see, I've connected my iPhone by the name of Dinesh iPhone to my Mac. Okay, so guys, please make sure before building, you connect your iPhone to your Mac and you select your physical iPhone device name over here. And inside this Unity iPhone file, I'll just select my Apple developer ID. So I'll click on this drop down and I'll select my Apple ID by the name of Dinesh Sausilkar, okay? And there is no other change which we have to make over here now. So next I'll click on the play button. And as you can see, the AR ground plane application is building inside the Xcode software. And in a couple of minutes, the application will run inside my iPhone 7 Plus. So guys, the AR ground plane application is built and it is opening inside my iPhone. So we have got this pop-up message which is asking us that whether we want to allow this application to access the camera or not. So this is the same text which I have written inside the camera usage description. So I'll click on the OK button and the camera of my iPhone is activated. If I move the camera near the floor, then you can see the square reticle pointer, and if I tap on the screen, then you can see that the Barbarian model is generated. But if I move back, then you can also see that the Barbarian model is also generated at the place where I was standing. Similarly, if I click on the screen multiple times, then you can see that the Barbarian model is getting generated multiple times at the place of the reticle pointer. So this is a small problem with the ground plane feature which was introduced in Vuforia 7. So guys, I'll end this video over here, and in the next video, we will make some programming changes inside the AR ground plane application so that the Barbarian model is placed only once. when we project the camera on top of the flow. In the previous video, I showed you the ground plane's output on my iPhone, but the output seemed a bit buggy because a new Barbarian model was getting generated every time we clicked on a new position on the screen. So, in this video, I'll show you how to generate the Barbarian Warrior only once, and when you'll click on a new position on the screen, the Barbarian Warrior will move from the old position to this new position. So to start with, we have to create a new script by the name of deploy stage once. And inside this deploy stage 1 script, we will copy this code. Now I have copied this code from the ground plane documentation, and inside this code, as you can see, the name of the class is deploy stage once with the alphabets D, S and O capital. So the new script which you will create should have this exact same name which is given to this class. So I'll minimize the text edit. Next, I'll open data files. Inside data files, I'll create a new folder. I'll name it scripts. Okay, I'll open it. And before creating the script, let me share one thing. Okay, so I'll provide this code in the resource section. So you can download this from the resource section and copy paste it inside your C# script. Now for creating a new C# script, I'll right click, I'll go in create, I'll select the C# option. I'll give the script a name of deploy stage once. Okay, I'll open the script. After opening the script, next I'll delete this sample piece of code. And now inside the deploy stage once.cs script, I will copy this entire code. Okay, so I'll click on Command A. Next, I'll click on Command C to copy this. Okay, if you're using a Windows system, then you can do this by using Control C to copy the code. And inside the deploy stage once, I'll just paste the entire script. So guys, as you can see, the name of the script and the name of the class are exactly same. If the name of your script and the name of your class do not match, then Unity will show you one error inside the script. Now after copying this code, next I'll attach this deploy stage once script to the plane finder game object. So I'll select this script and I'll attach it to the plane finder game object. Next, if I click on the plane finder game object, then as you can see, the deploy stage once script is attached to the plane finder. Now above the deploy stage once script, as you can see, we have this another script by the name of content positioning behavior. So the deploy stage once script is a bit similar to the content positioning behavior script, as in both the scripts, program is written to detect the ground surface and place 3D models or 3D component on the ground. But in the content positioning behavior script, multiple 3D models are created at different locations whenever you touch the screen, and in the deploy stage once script, only one 3D model will be generated which can be moved to a new position again by touching the screen. So that's why we'll delete this content positioning behavior script, okay, as the deploy stage once script is the replacement of this script. But before deleting the content positioning behavior script, let me show you one thing. So if I click on this advanced option which is inside the plane finder behavior script, then over here as you can see the reference of the plane finder game object is given, and from the plane finder game object the content positioning behavior script is called, which is this script, and from the content positioning behavior script the position content as plane anchor function is called. Okay, so if I delete this script, then this parameter will basically become empty. So I'll click on the gear icon neighboring to the content positioning behavior script, and after this I'll click on remove component. Okay, so as you can see, this parameter has now become empty, and in place of this empty parameter, I will again drag the plane finder. Okay, after this, I'll click on the drop down, and this time instead of content positioning behavior script, I will go to the deploy stage 1 script, and inside the deploy stage 1 script, we have this function called as on interactive hit test. So I'll select this function, and if I open the deploy stage 1 script, then as you can see, somewhere around line number 37, the on interactive hit test function is declared, and this function is basically responsible for detecting the square reticle on the ground surface and placing 3D models or the barbarian warrior in place of the square reticle whenever you touch the screen. So I'll minimize the deploy stage 1 script. Okay, and finally inside the deploy stage 1 script, as you can see, we again have this anchor stage parameter which is currently empty. So this time, in place of this empty parameter, I'll again drag the ground plane stage game object. After dragging the ground plane stage game object, next there is one final change which we have to make inside the AR camera. So I'll select the AR camera. Next, I'll open Vuforia configurations. After this, I'll scroll down, and over here, as you can see, we have this option of device tracker. So I'll check this track device pose option, and next I'll change this tracking mode from rotational to positional. And after making this change, next I'll click on Command S and I'll save my scene. After saving the scene, I'll build this application again. So I'll click on File, I'll click on Build Settings. I'll click on the build button directly as we do not have to make any changes inside the player settings. I'll hit save, and next I'll click on the replace button to replace the previous AR GP iOS folder. Okay, so the AR GP iOS folder is rebuilt again, so I'll open it, and next I'll again open this Unity iPhone Xcode project file. Next, from the iPhones list, I'll select my iPhone. After this, I'll click on the Unity iPhone project file. I'll select my team. And finally, I'll click on the play button to test the final output. So the camera is activated, and if I move the camera near the ground, then you can see the square reticle. If I touch the screen, then the barbarian model is generated at the position of the square reticle. Next, if I touch on the screen for the second time, then you can see that the barbarian model is moved from its old position to this new position. Similarly, if I click somewhere else, then as you can see, the barbarian model is actually moving from its old position to a new position. So guys, that's it from this video, and I'll see you in the next video. Hello guys, in this video, we will replace the Barbarian Warrior with this beautiful yellow Lamborghini sports car, and we will also customize the scale of this digital car as per the real dimensions of a Lamborghini car. Now, for best possible output, I'll suggest you to test the output of this Lamborghini car outdoors instead of testing it inside your house. Before we start, let me first explain you the main reason why I used the Barbarian model in the first place instead of the car model. Now, when we built the ground plane application for the first time, so with the standard settings, the Barbarian Warrior was generated every time we clicked on the screen. Similarly, one Barbarian Warrior was also generated at the position where you were standing or at the position where you have held the phone. If I had used the car model in the first place instead of the Barbarian model, then you would have found yourself inside the interiors of the car, as one car will be generated on the ground and the second car would have been generated at the place where you were standing. This would have looked a bit odd, and it also would have confused you a little bit, as a car model will actually occupy more width and more length when compared with the Barbarian model. So this was the main reason behind using the Barbarian model instead of the car model. Next, I'll go inside the asset store, and from the asset store I will now download the car model. So in the search field I'll type sports car. I'll click on free only, as the car asset which we are looking for is free. I'll scroll down, and this is the sports car model which I'll be using. So I'll double click and open it. And this sports car model basically contains this beautiful Lamborghini car model. So to import this inside a project, I'll click on the import button. Next, I'll again click on the import button. So guys, the sports car 3D model is imported inside a project. So I'll open it. Next, I'll open the prefabs folder and I'll drag this sports car prefab inside the hierarchy. So I'll go inside the scene panel. Next, I'll open the ground plane, and from the ground plane, I'll delete this Barbarian Warrior. After this, I'll first zoom in on the ground plane a little bit. So here's the ground plane inside the scene panel, and next, I'll make the sports car a child of this ground plane stage. Now guys, the sports car is not visible because the scale of the sports car is way too big when compared with the scale of this ground stage. So next, let's reduce the scale of the sports car. But before that, as you can see, the Y position of the sports car is at 3. So I'll just change this to 0. After this, I'll select the sports car. I'll then select the 3D scale tool and I'll reduce the scale of this. And guys, these extra components which you're seeing are basically the light components which are attached to the sports car. I'll reduce the scale a little bit more. Now guys, as you can see, this Lamborghini car is fitting perfectly inside this 100 cm by 100 cm ground plane square. So that's why if I build this AR ground plane application, then the maximum length of this Lamborghini car will only be 1 meter and it will look very small inside the real world. So next, let's increase the scale of this digital 3D Lamborghini model and let's scale it as per the dimensions of a real Lamborghini car. To find the dimensions of a real Lamborghini car, I'll open my browser. In the search field, I'll type Lamborghini car dimensions. I'll press enter and I'll open this first link, which is a Wikipedia link, and let's see if we can find the dimensions here. Okay, so I'll scroll down, and as you can see, these are the dimensions of a Lamborghini car. And if you look very carefully, the length of a Lamborghini car is 188 inches. So if I convert inches to meter, then 188 inches is approximately equal to 4.77 meters. So next, I'll open Unity. And now let's scale this Lamborghini car to approximately 4.77 meters or to approximately around 5 meters by using this ground plane scale as a reference. So I'll select the position tool and I'll place the Lamborghini car neighboring to the ground plane. Now, since the length and width of this ground plane are both 1 meter, that is 100 centimeters, so I'll take the ground plane's length as a reference, that is, I'll take this side as a reference. Next, I'll scale up this car unless and until the length of this car is approximately 5 times the length of this ground plane. And if the length of this car is 5 times the length of this ground plane, then we can say that the length of this digital Lamborghini car is approximately 5 meters, which is the final output that we want. So with the Lamborghini sports car selected, I'll select the 3D scale tool. I'll select the gray cube and I'll increase the size of this. I'll reposition the car again. So currently the length of this car is double the length of the ground plane. So I'll increase the size a little bit more. So guys, I'm basically satisfied with this length because I believe this length is approximately equal to 5 times the length of this ground plane. So after changing the scale of this Lamborghini car, okay, now as you can see, the X, Y and Z scale of this Lamborghini car is around 0.225, which should give us a length of 5 meters in the real world. So as I was saying, after changing the scale, next I will reposition the Lamborghini at a position of 0, 0, 0 along the X, Y and Z axis. And next I'll make sure that this Lamborghini car is exactly on top of the ground plane. That is, the wheels of this Lamborghini car are on top of the ground plane. Okay, so to do this, I'll right click on the ground plane and I'll select a plane game object. And on top of this plane game object, I'll try to place the tires of this Lamborghini. So basically, I'm taking this plane game object as a reference to align the sports car exactly on top of the ground plane. So I'll zoom in on the tires a little bit and I'll reposition the car. And now for the final adjustment, I'll zoom in at the bottom part of the tire and I'll just increase this value a little bit. Okay, so this is the exact value I believe. Okay, so as you can see, the tires of my car are exactly on top of this plane. And I'm basically satisfied with the final output. So after placing the Lamborghini car exactly on top of the ground plane, next I'll right click on this plane game object and I'll delete it. After this, let me show you how you can change the color of this car. So if I open the sports car prefab, then inside this we have this option of body. So I'll click on the body component. Next, if I scroll down, then we have this option of color over here. So I'll click on this drop down. And currently, as you can see, this is the standard color which is given to this Lamborghini, that is gray color. So I'll click on this color option. And next, as you can see, if I move the pointer on any of the color, then you can see that the color of this Lamborghini is also changing. So guys, you can choose any color you want from the color palette. I'll just settle with this yellow color. And after customizing this Lamborghini car, I'll just build my application. So to build this app, I'll click on File. I'll then click on Build Settings. I'll click on the Build button. I'll click Save. I'll hit Replace to replace the previous ARGP iOS folder. So guys, the camera is activated and you can also see the square reticle on the surface. So next, if I touch the screen, then you can see that my yellow Lamborghini is placed on the road. And if I move around the Lamborghini, then you can also notice that the scale of this Lamborghini is equivalent or is equal to the real dimensions of any Lamborghini car. So guys, that's it from this video and I'll see you in the next video. Hello guys, in the previous video we checked the output of the Lamborghini car model, but along with the Lamborghini car you could also see some UI text being displayed on the left side of the screen. Now if I click on the sports car, then to the sports car, as you can see, a script by the name of light effect is attached. Inside this script, there is a function called onGUI, which is responsible for displaying the UI text or the 2D text on the left side of the screen. So to remove the UI text, I'll open this light effect script. So I'll click on the gear icon and next I'll click on edit script. Now inside this light effect script, if I scroll down, then on line number 110, as you can see, a function by the name of onGUI is declared, and inside this function, as I've mentioned, the program for the UI text is written. So to stop the UI text from appearing on the screen, I will just comment this function. So this function starts at line number 111, and if I scroll down, then as you can see, this function ends at line number 268. So to comment this entire function, I'll first put a /. After this, I'll put a star. Okay, so as you can see, this function is commented, but I also need to end this comment at the appropriate line. So I'll scroll down. Okay, and over here, as you can see, star and / is written. So I think the developer has commented these two lines for some reason. Okay, you can also see that the developer has also commented line number 191 and 192. So what I'll do is I'll just remove this star and / which is on line number 192. I'll also remove this star and / which is on line number 200. And next I'll scroll down and I'll put star and / exactly above this final curly bracket. So guys, I finished commenting this entire GUI function. Okay, so now if I go on top and if I click on this curly bracket, which is for the light effects class, and if I scroll down, then as you can see, this ending curly bracket is highlighted over here. Okay, so I have commented this entire function properly, and after commenting out this on GUI function, I'll click on Ctrl S to save this script. Next, I'll click on Ctrl S to save my Unity scene. Okay, and after this, I will rebuild the project. Okay, so I'll click on File, Build Settings. I'll click on the Build button and I'll rebuild my AR ground plane project. So guys, this time if I click on the screen, then as you can see, the Lamborghini car is generated and the 2D text which was previously appearing on the left hand side is gone now. So guys, that's it from this video and I'll see you in the next video. I hope you would have liked this video. This was a free video from my Augmented Reality course, which is currently the best selling AR course on Udemy. This course is currently priced at $200, but you can get it at a discounted price of $10. And by the end of this course, you would have finished building 10 amazing augmented reality applications. Now, there are no necessary requirements for enrolling in this course. You just need an open mindset and a learning attitude. The link for this course is mentioned in the description. So guys, if you like this video, then hit the like button and subscribe to my channel for more amazing videos like these.